so what sort of racism have you seen that we need to fight?
Black women, you tear your hair out by the roots. You put every sort of chemical on your hair to straighten it out, despite being so proud of being black.
I've just built this. I didn't have to discriminate anyone based on color.
It's what racists do. Is we are motivated by life. We are motivated by community. We are motivated by passion and love. You know what I mean? I don't need profit, and I don't need the threat of death and homelessness to make me go do something.
So you're here. We got a newspaper that you just sold to me. Fight racism, fight imperialism.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. I mean, in the practical sense, what sort of racism are we fighting? What sort of imperialism are we fighting here?
So we're called Fight Racism, Fight Imperialism because we believe that racism is inherently tied to imperialism, and imperialism is it's like the international monopolization of capital, you know, where it's oppressor nations going out and extracting value from smaller nations, from oppressed countries. And we think that racism exists because it's used to justify that, to create the like societal conditions to have that, you know what I mean? You have to dehumanize people in order to exploit them.
Right, so could you give me in a practical sense what is, because if you're fighting it, that means it exists, and you just explained it, where is it happening? Because of course, I hate one of those. I wouldn't want anybody else to be discriminated based on their color and their skin.
Of course.
I want them to be discriminated based on the content of their character.
Of course. I mean, we see right now with Palestine, you know, where you have the Labour Party, the
UK
media, the Labour Party, the UK, the media, dehumanizing Palestinians to allow for their genocide, to allow for their dehumanization, their occupation by the state of Israel, you know.
But Keir Starmer just voted for statehood, no?
But then what does that really do when they're still occupied, they're still under apartheid? The statehood is just, it's what racists do, is what the Labour Party is kind of a very proficient at, you know, in the sense of giving meaningless hand signals and meaningless like signs, but in reality, no material, actual serious benefit. They have statehood and they're still dying. They have statehood, they still don't have access to healthcare. They're still living in apartheid. They live in their own land and they can't drive on certain roads. You know what I mean? There's still so many of them in prison under no charge. And it's the Labour Party and an imperialist Britain that allows for that. That created the state of Israel. You know what I mean?
So talk to me about racism. Are you from the UK?
No, I'm from the States.
How long you been in the UK?
About 7 years now.
All right. So what sort of racism have you seen that we need to fight?
I think in general, it's there's obviously, I mean, there's what I like to call like street racism. Where you have people like, it's kind of the direct, you know what I mean, what most people are willing to acknowledge and are willing to kind of acknowledge, you know, slurs, all that type of stuff, and those type of racist things I imagine you might
just
know
walk
about.
past and do it.
Exactly. But in reality, there's also the racism that is state racism. That is state racism that is used to dehumanize people, that's used to oppress and create the conditions to exploit people. It's what allows for the state to go abroad and steal, maim, murder, genocide people. That's state racism. So I think the things we see with the anti-migrant messaging in the news, the things we see with constant propaganda trying to dehumanize people on our streets, that's racism as well, you know.
So you mentioned migrant, right? Because as you already know, here in the UK, the biggest problem right now, it seems to be illegal migration, or migration as a whole, legal and illegal. So you said if people are antagonizing or criticizing or posting a lot about migrants, that is racist. How's that racist? And could you give me an example, practical example of what somebody could do that suggests that is racist, and what somebody could criticize in regard to migrant that would not put them in a bracket as racist?
I think that I'm not talking about you specifically.
Yeah, of course.
But I think even the framing of it as like some problem, as if it's some existential threat, is so violently overhyped, over exaggerated, and I think that's an intentional propagandized thing that people see migration as this like threat to ourselves or culture or anything. They're human beings, and the dehumanization of them through the media, all these like the small boats epidemic, all these type of things.
Oh, yeah, small boats.
It's not real. It's not actually affecting people in any serious way. It's dehumanization, and with migration, majority of it is just so that they can. It's about tweaking the workforce to what they need. You know what I mean? If they need cheap labor, they will bring in migrants. Like I don't know if you know, but I think it was. I can't remember the exact statistic, but I think it was like 25% of nurses that died from COVID and during COVID were Filipino in England, which is like
What percentage is
like
that?
20. I think it was like 20 or 25.
Well, just Filipinos.
We're Filipino women, you know what I mean?
Why
and
is
it's
that?
like it's
Why-
because you bring immigrants in to do the cheap labor, the undesirable labor you don't want to do, and then when you're done with them, you find out the culture war, and then you kick them out. You know, it's turning people into cogs in the machine, and it's dehumanizing them constantly.
Is that what you try? Is that what you truly think?
That's what I absolutely think. I think this migration thing is. I think the migration thing, especially in the mainstream media, is a violently over-exaggerated non-issue that they just want to use to fund culture wars and distract people from class wars.
There was too much noise there, so we had to get somewhere to sit down. So I think this is better. It's better for me. I'm sure it's better for you as well, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to get back to racism because yesterday I was on Twitter, I was scrolling,
Yeah.
and I seen a lady doing Halloween, a white lady. Her Halloween costume was being black lady. She did her makeup and she did everything. She was black.
I unfortunately think I know exactly who you're talking about.
Do you know?
I think,
What's her name?
I think Lily something.
Lily.
Yeah,
That's her name.
Yeah, unfortunately I saw that. as
Freaking
well.
crazy, right?
Yeah, she is,
So when you
she
think
is.
about racist, I think that is fucking racist.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into the UK practical sense.
Yeah.
What's happened to you that has led you to start selling the magazine, calling people to fight racism?
I think for me, it's kind of, I mean, obviously, as a black person myself, I kind of have been cognizant of racism and its effects on people about like exploitation and everything. Especially as an African American, it's kind of, you know what I mean? It's the history of slavery and all these things. It's very thick in my mind. But then I think specifically for me, it was in regards to Palestine and the horrors I saw abroad. And I think that with the organization, it's the RCG that prints the paper Fight Racism, Fight Imperialism.
Right.
With the organization, I then kind of was able to connect these dots and see the function of racism, why racism exists, why racism exists, the economic and societal need for it, you know what I mean? And that's to further imperialism, and that's for capitalism, you know?
Right. So that's where I wanted you to come to, right? Which obviously you did. I was
Yeah.
gonna shift it, but
No,
we're here
yeah,
now.
that's all good.
So capitalism. You got banners there. You got banners of Lenin.
Yeah.
You got banner of the Cuba.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And all these are not capitalist society. The economic sense is it's typically different.
Yeah.
It's either socialist
Yeah,
or Marxist.
Yeah.
So tell me, what would capitalism? So why would capitalism be linked to racism?
I think the reason why capitalism is inherently linked to racism is because for capitalism, it's under capitalism you need your hierarchies. You know what I mean? You need your upper class, lower class, middle class, and all that.
Right.
And those hierarchies are.
Is that due to race,
It's
or is it due
it's-
to your output
It's
and the production that you put in the
I
marketplace?
I would definitely not say it's due to like your output. I think people work very hard
You
and they
think?
never make and their profit is stolen by their bosses. You know what I mean? You go to work, you generate thousands of pounds, and you get a measly fraction of that at the end of your salary. But then the reason why I'm saying like capitalism is inherently linked to racism is because racism is necessary to stratify people. You know what I mean? It's necessary to stratify people and bring them into those stratas and all.
But capitalism is purely for getting you to get to work. So if you're good at your work, nobody would discriminate you based on your color, no?
Oh, they
Because
definitely.
let's say you're a business owner.
Yeah.
You're looking for the best editor,
Yeah.
like I always do. I'm always
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for the best editor,
Yeah.
right? I don't mind if it's black. I don't mind if it's orange, yellow, purple. As long as able to give me the edits that I want, that's the guy who I'm gonna pick. Is that racist?
I mean, when I'm talking about capitalism and racism, I'm not talking about those I'm not specifically talking about those individual things. I think those individual things, like you can decide if somebody is individually racist or not. I'm talking about more of a societal thing. I'm talking about racism on a state level. So racism that that creates stratas, and capitalism that enforces and reinforces those stratas.
Right.
Like in terms of people choosing who they prefer for like an editor or like hiring for a role, I think racial biases come into play there. But I think with the organization, especially, we're talking about racism on a wider level. Of course, that individual personal level is very important to deal with as well, and it's very much informed by the wider level. But I think tackling the wider level will help solve the individual level.
Yeah. So how would introducing, because this banner here is talking about revolution.
Yeah.
Okay, what is that revolution? Is that communist, or is that socialist? What is it?
I mean, yeah, it's a Marxist, it's a socialist revolution. I think
How would that
for
fix the problem that you are fighting right now, racism and imperialism?
that's why I think that's a good question. Socialism is all about the process, right? Socialism is like a transformative process.
Right.
And I think that the state, society, capitalism, as it exists, like I said, breaks people into stratas, and those stratas are like could be like race based, could be monetary based, financial, and everything. Upper class,
Understand.
middle class, and all that type of stuff.
That's right.
I think that socialism, a revolutionary movement in England that actually helps tackle imperialism, would then help break these things that inform like interpersonal racism, that would help break these things that inform interpersonal like misogyny and all these other forms of discrimination. I think that capitalism needs racism to exist. Capitalism needs misogyny to exist.
You think capitalism needs racistness to exist?
110%. I think capitalism needs racism to exist. I think it needs misogyny to exist. I think it needs hate and biases to exist.
How would that make a business money if they need racism for them to keep their business going?
Well,
I'm an
because-
entrepreneur myself.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So I started my business when I was 20. I started in a coffee shop, Starbucks.
Yeah.
That was my office. I used to go there, pay for coffee, so then I can have the whole day in there, right?
Yeah.
And I'll do my interviews in there. People will come in, I'll do their interview. I'll hire them.
No, yeah.
And then I'll tell them the office is here.
No, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we launched that. And
Yeah.
to the point where I had 7 people working for me in coffee shop.
Yeah.
You have to be able to sell them the dream for them to stick around.
Yeah.
And then we got an office. We had 27 people coming in every day on the office. And I did that because people came in and I just decided who's better, who can stay with us, who fits the culture, and we just kept on growing and kept on growing. And obviously we're here today. Now we're launching a media team. Now we're doing the good stuff online. I didn't see any sort of racistness in me that needed to exist for me to grow that company up.
So when I'm
Do
talking
you
about-
understand when you say capitalism needs racistness to exist? I have to ask. I mean, I've just built this. I didn't have to discriminate anyone based on color.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's kind of an anecdotal example to the societal thing I'm
that's
talking
real
about.
life. That's me.
No, I know that's what I'm
Is
saying,
it-
but it's kind of an individual example to a societal thing I'm talking about. So when I say that capitalism needs racism to exist, right?
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Let's say, for example, I say something like McDonald's, big business,
That's
they make
right.
billions, you know what I mean,
Billions.
ridiculous amounts of money. McDonald's, their cutlery, and to make profit, they need to find who can they pay the least to generate the most profit. That's how you make profit. You know what I mean? Who do you pay the least to give you the most things? And then when in the search of that, in order to achieve maximum profit, what do? They go use prison labor that's essentially slave labor, right? And then prison labor is essentially slave labor. How do you fill up those prisons? You fill it up with creating racist narratives about migrants and racist narratives about black men and everything. And
So
this and that.
McDonald's doing that.
Yeah, McDonald's uses like prison labor, and many other companies use prison labor and slave labor. A lot of these companies around us, and banks and businesses, they are profiting off of this genocide that's going on right now. Barclays, HSBC, M&S is literally like the fathers of Zionism. You know what I mean? It's like
But it's this business of war. I don't know if you've read a book called the Chart. It was a guy who back in the 1800s, the Merchant of Death. That's the book.
yeah.
And where they start selling weapons, where the United States for like, all right, let's start selling weapons because that was the
Yeah.
It's a good way to make money.
Yeah.
And obviously more people start investing into it. Then you got Loki Mine, you got all these companies who are just creating weapons. Because a bullet is useless
Yeah.
if there's nobody to shoot at.
Exactly.
Or there's nothing to shoot at.
Yeah.
And I understand I understand your criticism towards those business, because those business are deadly. For them to make profit, people need to die.
People need to
Loki
die. People need to
Mine,
suffer.
all
Exactly.
these companies, the B2 bombers that's been built and all these things.
Exactly.
For those airports, for all these jets to exist and be useful.
Yeah.
Some country needs to be bombed.
They need to go, get a constitution bomb. They need to slander a people.
So-
they need to dehumanize a population. That's why we were saying, Palestinians are terrorists, Palestinians are rapists, Palestinians are this and that and everything.
The reason why I brought that up is because in that economic sense, that side, I'm totally with you there, bro. We can march every day on that side, because that's a deadly business, as it is, literally.
Yeah.
But when you say capitalism, when it exists, it promotes racism, I kind of see like, it's very like, you can't buy me into that, because I'm a full-on capitalist, right? And obviously, I'm not sure if you're full-on, because obviously you criticize a lot. I want you to tell me why communism or Marxism or socialist would be the best economic idea for the UK to adopt.
I think it's because under socialism is antithetical to imperialism, And I think that if we should have a socialist revolution, if we should be able to do away with capitalism,
Well, how deadly would that be, though?
it wouldn't be deadly.
You've not seen any of all the other leaders who tried to implement socialism, communism, how deadly it was?
Majority of the times with those type of leaders, it either just one wasn't socialism, or two, it was.
So those leaders were not socialism.
No, I'm saying like there's a lot of times when they call someone a socialist and the person just isn't a socialist or isn't communism or whatever. And then there's also times when those projects fail because of like American and imperialist intervention, like British intervention.
Yeah.
Like look at Cuba right now, for example.
Yeah,
people will tell you that Cuba is XYZ and Cuba is starving people and people are starving there. They're starving because of a blockade. They're starving because
the
America
sanctions and
has
stuff.
slapped sanctions on them because they're trying to explore socialism.
That's competition. That's called competition.
But it's not competition though. That's oppression. It's not competition if those people are not equal. They're not. It's not equal They're not equal parties. What can Cuba do to America? Cuba is trying to explore socialism, and America
America is just saying, hey, you're not gonna sell your stuff here. Oh, we're not gonna buy your stuff.
America is not saying.
I think they have the right to say, hey, we're not gonna buy your stuff. And
if America doesn't want to buy Cuban stuff, who cares about America? Why is America saying other people can't trade with Cuba? Why is America bombing ships off the coast of Venezuela? You know what I mean? Why is America?
I'm totally with you on that side, because there's no due process on that.
Exactly. So
you can't just bomb anybody that you see coming through.
And then
I get it.
And then, for example, now we're talking about the need for people to kill, and that's why you make to sell bullets. You know what I mean? You need to create people to kill. With the Venezuela thing, when they were calling them narco-terrorists, no proof, no process. Oh, they're Latinos, so they have to be involved with drugs. Isn't that racism sustaining capitalism? Isn't all these racial fantasies we create of ourselves what we use to go murder people? I think, honestly, you put it better than I could. That like you create the people to kill when you want to sell bullets. You create the prisoners when you need to get cheap labor to make your fucking forks and plastic spoons. You create a population to dominate, and a population you dehumanize a population when you need the next cheap labor force.
You see, your argument is very noble. Your argument is very selling. Is appealing, especially for young people. It's very appealing. That in that room right there, I got kicked out because I was asking questions.
Yeah.
Right there, there's a Marxist of Manchester. You're aware of it, right?
I am aware. Yeah.
I got kicked out because I was asking questions.
Yeah.
And it's full of young people. I get it, but I want to know, how is this the best economic idea that Britain can adopt? I would argue that we already have socialism here.
You have socialized things, but you don't have socialism.
I would argue we already do. I think we're more on that side because trade unions, they're getting more power. Labor is just giving them more power, especially with this employment bill that's been debated on, that's been going to be passed. That's more power to the trade unions. That's what socialism is about, right? Giving more power to the workers. Then when you argue about, we don't have free school, we do. We don't have NHS. We do have NHS.
You have- that's what I'm
so
saying,
I
you
would
have-
say we already have socialism here embedded into our system.
You have-
What more could you even ask for?
I think that England has socialized systems and things like you said with the
Welfare and
NHS
all
and
this
everything,
thing, yeah,
welfare and all that type of stuff. But then I think that those things are used to alleviate the horror of capitalism. I don't think that that's socialism. It doesn't mean that Britain is socialist. It just means that you have to they kind of have to give some things, because if they didn't give some alleviations, you kind of just crush the people entirely. That's why your boss give, like, okay, maybe you're an entrepreneur and everything.
Yeah.
People that work 9 to 5, your boss gives you the rest time, not because they're so merciful and nice. They give it to you because you kind of need to rest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to be healed so you can go do your job and go do your work.
Totally
And
agree, yeah.
They're constantly kind of attacking those socialized systems. You know what I mean? It's constant attacks or attempts to like privatize the NHS and everything. And I'm from America,
Yeah,
where
that would
like
be brutal.
healthcare is like,
That's not good.
you're not going to you get you break your toe and all of a sudden you're paying like $1,000 and that
Yeah.
just ruins your life. You know?
I totally understand about healthcare. I think that is good. The NHS is probably the biggest thing, the sacred thing that we need to protect here in the UK. The NHS is the thing that we don't. If we was to go private, the
lot of
economy
people
would be
would-
fucked.
and a lot of people would
Everybody
die.
will. A lot of people will die because
Yes.
when you look at the obesity and we look at the sickness rate and when you look at the age population here in the UK, we tend to be where there's a lot of old people.
Yeah.
So if we was to privatize everything, we're basically telling them, hey, you're gonna die in debt.
Yeah.
So I totally understand with the NHS, but with a lot more things, we already have socialism here. But when you talk about revolution, Marxists, and socialism, I mean, what difference will they make? And of course, you're gonna say, hey, we're gonna give more control and more means of production to the people. I get it, but how? How productive will it be?
I think it would be extremely productive. I mean, we look at
Just to wrap this up, yeah.
No, yeah, of course. I think it would be extremely productive, and I think that we look
Put
at
this on top of that.
it's extremely productive, and we look at places like socialist Cuba, for example, as inspiration.
Yeah.
We have societies where we produce not because of profit, but we produce because of human welfare. We produce because we want to help each other. We produce because we're inspired and we're driven to better our society.
Right.
That's a society that actually produces. Our society doesn't produce nothing. We could have there's homeless people in the streets in one of the richest countries in the world.
That's
Why
right.
is that? Why is that the case? That's the case because capitalism needs it to be so. You know what I mean? That's the case because that's not actually profitable.
But capitalism, I would argue, has uplift a lot of people that were
Who are
down.
those people that it's uplifted?
Say that again.
Who are those people that it's uplifted?
Well, first you can look at the countries like the countries that have mixed economy, the countries that have created a free market where anybody like myself can just come in and do something good for themselves, and also employ other people that didn't have jobs. Now they have something to do for themselves. I think that's pretty cool. I think that is a formal way of helping everybody else. Because if you look at Elon Musk, how many people does he hire? I understand some of the stuff that he does. I don't agree with some of them. But how many people does he employ? Probably thousands, right?
He employs thousands, but then he also exploits those thousands. He's not
How?
employing them for the goodness of his heart and everything. And that's
It's not like he's not paying them.
and those employees aren't fulfilled. They're not living life going and creating things that they own and are passionate about. They're working in genuinely dog shit like conditions. They're working to minimal pay, especially in terms of the
But then
profit that they
why-
generate.
why-
I would rather live in
Yeah,
a
that's
society
go
that
on.
we produce to help people, not that we depend on the mercy of 15 billionaires while people are starving to death. And those billionaires
that
are
number is
giving those
brutal,
mercy.
yeah. Yeah,
and
that number is brutal.
those billionaires that are giving their mercy are in reality generating more profits by enslaving people abroad. You work in an office in England, and then meanwhile your same office is generating even more profit because they're making call centers in India where the people a fraction of the amount do the exact same job you're doing. I don't think exploitation is good. I don't think that murder is good, and I think that's why I'm anti-capitalist.
But you can't compare UK's minimum wage and India's minimum wage. Because if you do, then that's disingenuous, because the amount of money you need to make here, if you was to convert to India, that's a lot of money. So of course, you might say, yeah, they're exploiting. No, they're not exploiting. They're just paying them in their currency. in
I
their
think
minimum wage, and that's why they're
I
still
was having this
working.
conversation with somebody recently, actually, and I even, let's say, for example, we just work on that premise, like, of course, like, we just work on the premise, like, yeah, cost of living in different places, and you pay according to that. I still say it's exploitation, because I think that if you're generating money, that you should own that money. I think that if you're generating profit, that you should receive a fairer share of that. I don't think
So
that.
you see, I want you to dive deeper into that. I know we're running out of time, but God, man, I wish I could have 1 hour with you, bro.
No, I can't
This
believe
is
that.
fucking
It's an interesting conversation.
It is, because we get to battle with our thoughts, and we get to decide what's right and what's wrong, and you're winning me over on a lot of argument, and I agree. And also,
I appreciate
I'm
that.
assuming obviously I'm able to reciprocate the same to your side as well. But you see what I hate about your argument, not hate, but what I dislike about it, is the fact that you are trying to remove the freedom to fail away from from people. People should have the right to fail. You shouldn't just be like, hey, I'm gonna work and help everybody. No, they should have the right to go out there in a market, a free market, a market that doesn't have a lot of restraints, a market that doesn't have too many regulations, and they should go out there and try something for themselves and fail, and then they try again. And that's what happened to me. I've run a lot of business. I've attempted on a lot of businesses. I've attempted on finance, insurance companies. Sales worked for me. I did all these Amazon FBA, all this online stuff, but sale clicked, and I just run the sale company,
Sure,
and then obviously media company now,
sure.
because I failed in the first. But imagine if somebody was there telling me, hey, don't worry, man, I'm gonna sort you out. I won't feel like I need to go and try. So the fact that this capitalism, communism or socialism is always it's always appealing very noble to people who are in pain. They're like, oh, don't worry, we're gonna do everything. We're gonna have everything. The billionaires will pay their fair shares. Huh? Tell me, like, could you try explain that in a sense where how would people feel like they need to try still and give in their heart if they're still gonna get it anyway?
I think, first of all, like the point of the right to fail and everything,
Right.
I think that if you're arguing for, or at least you wish for a right to fail, then even just on that premise, shouldn't people
No,
also have the
just-
right to like succeed? Not everybody has the right to succeed.
Let me give you.
in our
Sorry, I
society.
only gave you one part of the
No,
reason why.
I know.
like-
I was thinking about the specific.
Yeah, I
that specific
wanna
case.
answer that. Reason why I said the right to fail. The right to fail is my last one, and I think that's the one we're losing right now. And I think we need to kind of uplift that. We need to encourage people to fail, and for them to fail, they need to try something, right? Now, the reason why I like capitalism, or the reason why it's appealed to me as a greatest economic ideal, is because it gives you all these freedoms to try something. You can go out there and try stuff. Freedom for you to go and buy anything you want, as long as it's legal, right? You can go and buy anything you want. Freedom for you to go and sell anything you want. So if I want to sell my jacket, I can go and sell it, as long as people want to sell it, people want to buy it. The market is there for you to have all these freedoms. And also the last one is freedom to fail, meaning you can go out there and do 1, 2, 3 and still have the ability to fail. And then you can come back from that and prove the world that you're out there trying to do something for yourself. But when you say socialism and all these things, what that does, yeah, it gives you the right, it gives you the freedom to try. I understand, because obviously people in communism are trying, people in socialism are trying, of course. It gives you the freedom to win, of course, people are winning. But it removes the freedom to fail, and that I think is the most important one in human beings. They need to fail.
I think, just speaking very specifically at that point, I would even still say socialism removes the right to fail. I think that
It does.
I didn't think it does, because I think it would be a misunderstanding of socialism to say socialism means everybody gets a win and everybody is an A-star student and everyone is. I think those are like propagandized misunderstandings of socialism. Socialism
Inform me, please.
Socialism isn't that. It isn't just, oh, everyone is super rich and everyone gets a house and everything. And not a house, but everyone gets a mansion and is a billionaire and we're all rich and we all have
We
yachts.
won't have space for everybody then.
That's what I'm
If
saying.
everybody has a mansion, right?
But it's not that. You know what I mean? Socialism is a transformative process in which the workers take and own the means of production. We stop working for profit. We start working for people. One of the most noble things I've ever heard is when I think it was a Cuban doctor that was speaking to an American doctor, and the American doctor said that, I think the Cuban doctor asked how many shareholders does the American doctor have in the hospital, and they said, he has 15, like 15 or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact quote, but I just gave that number. Then the Cuban doctor says, I have 1 million. Every Cuban is my shareholder. Everybody has a right to their healthcare. Everybody is as important as another. You know what I mean? People have the right to fail because let's say we lived in a social society.
Right.
I went to go try start a band. I loved music and I went to try that. I wasn't very good at singing. I wasn't very good at playing an instrument. You don't like my thing. You don't have to listen to it. And then I failed in that way, I guess.
Yeah.
And then there's still risks. There's still
but think about it.
Passions.
But think about it. If you gonna be giving anything anyway, because we're just lifting everybody
And
up.
that's why I'm saying
what will
there's
encourage
still-
you? Because failing is hard. Failing is for somebody who has
Yes.
failed a lot.
Yes.
Failing is probably it's harder than success because you gotta fail and you gotta go again and
Yeah,
go again
I
and go
completely
again.
understand, yeah.
Do you think that person who wanted to pursue the instrument, industry, do you think that guy will go again and again and again, especially if he's still living well?
Absolutely.
If there's no paining points
Abs-
that's pressing him to keep on going.
Absolutely. I think that person will still continue to try because we're human beings and we
think?
I fully and absolutely completely reject the idea that human beings are only motivated by profit and individual success. I'm motivated by caring for my community. I'm not doing
That could be you.
know what I mean?
Not everybody's the same.
I think everybody actually is the same. I think that
You think everybody's the same?
I think that everybody is the same in the sense that we are all motivated by things that are bigger than profit. We're motivated by community. We're motivated by helping each other, by building things, by being the person that did something. You know what I mean? I don't think when I finish work and I go try, I told you I'm a filmmaker, for example.
Yeah,
I
you
go
told me
learn about color grading and I learn about
After
my
Effects
films and
all this
everything.
stuff, yeah.
Exactly.
Sick.
I'm not making any profit from that whatsoever. I do it because of passion.
That's right.
I am motivated by the fact that I want to be able to create something that means something to me. And I think that everybody has those passions. Everybody, let's say for socialism, you're not being paid, for example, because people say, we have socialism, who's cleaning the toilets, who is cleaning the streets?
You wanna walk in there?
No, yeah, it's all fine. For socialism, we say who is cleaning the toilets, who is cleaning the streets. Nobody wants to do those jobs unless they have to do it because it's their job and they're paid to do it, you know?
Yeah.
But in reality, if I lived in a place and my streets were dirty, I lived there, I'd clean my streets because they're my streets.
That's right.
If I had a toilet and my toilet was dirty, I don't need to be paid to do it. I will
Just do
fix
it
it because I want a clean toilet.
Yeah.
We are motivated by life. We are motivated by community. We are motivated by passion and love. You know what I mean? I don't need profit and I don't need the threat of death and homelessness to make me go do something.
But encourage you to get something done. Because I don't know if you've walked into students' accommodation, just because you like things to be clean. Trust me, if you walk into students' accommodation, everything is dirty.
I was a student and I completely understand. Like,
So not everybody is the
not
same.
everything is going to be clean and all the time, you know. Everything's going to be clean all the time. But essentially, we are
If I
motivated by
kidnapped you, then.
we are motivated by so much more than profit. We're motivated by so much more than just the threat of death and homelessness.
Yeah,
and
true.
I don't think we should live in a society, frankly, where people are killed, maimed, or starved to death because they refuse to work or are unable to work or they don't fit into certain characteristics, you know. I think that's the note I'll end it on. I think that people should explore socialism. I think that people should try to challenge what they've been taught and propagandized regarding socialism. I think that people should join the fight against imperialism because imperialism is killing all of us, either it be directly like in Palestine or passively like here. So
Yeah,
that's my note.
That's your ending. I'm going to end with this. I think capitalism should remain. We should have a little bit of capitalism in our society. We should have these the market. I want the market to be free. I want somebody like you to join in. If you want to sell newspaper, go ahead, win. I want somebody else to join in, or he wants to play a guitar, a trumpet, go, win. Yeah. And I also want them to have the faith that they're gonna fail, and then they're gonna try again and again and again. Of course, I agree with you on that side where people out there are brutal.
Yeah.
They can go out there and try and manipulate and try and make other people slaves for them.
Yeah.
Those people are wrong ones, and there's gonna be wrong ones in every society, even in socialism. And so trust me, there's so many and we can go and name all of them. But thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast, bro.
Have a great day.
So then I was born in a refugee camp in Tanzania. At the time, there's so many people ran there. A lot of people were going there, real refugees, after being butchered from the civil war that erupted in Congo. My parents applied for asylum to all the countries. They waited. Now, then I was born in that camp, the same camp. I'm talking tents. I was born there. Now, we're waiting for 14 years. We were waiting. Now, of course, these guys could choose to wait as well, but these guys hijacked that and they come in the country illegally. Now, the media will brand you guys racist, far right, the worst people here, the worst group here. How come the good group didn't invite me to go speak over there? So I call this the greatest awakening because all the way from over there, there's hundreds of people turning up. It's a Saturday, for God's sake. They could easily go around and watch football and have fun, go on a date, do all the lovely stuff they could do. But instead, they want to stand here, rain or not. They're ready to send the message. And I believe the message will be received today. Thank you so much.
For anybody in the back who struggled to hear this young man's story, one incredible, brave young man.
Oh yes, I agree.
British Christian values, regardless of his own